Hey guys, Joshua Coates here. Just want to talk to you real quick about Ireland and the different social customs, the food, the clothing, and a little bit of politics. So real quick about social customs, the society as a whole is relatively homogeneous, meaning that they are a lot alike in how they think, how they do things, different traditions. Family is a top priority for them. They do a lot of things as a family. They value family a lot. You'll see most people currently living where they were raised, just trying to recreate some of those social identities, whether it be occupation, leisure activities, personal lifestyle preferences. As far as how they greet each other, it's a lot like American culture today. It's a simple handshake before and after each conversation. When it comes to business and social settings, you definitely want to be mindful of the conversation topics you bring up. You want to avoid topics of religion, probably politics, things that really affected their country. Because there's such a rich tradition there, they definitely could be easily offended by something you say if you don't really know what you're talking about, or if you come across as arrogant in the things that you're talking about. So if they were to bring up a conversation about religion or politics, then you could definitely interject, but just be mindful, be open-minded to what they're saying, listen, just be humble, just use good etiquette, be kind, respectful of what they're saying. As far as seating arrangements, the head of the table is usually the most important person, and those seated to the left are the most important guest, and to the right are the least important guest. Eating customs are relaxed for the most part and similar to American culture in a few ways. Formal settings, forks should be kept in the left hand, knives in the right hand. The tines of the fork should be faced down when getting food. Elbows should not be on the table. The host of the party should offer to pay for the meal. Things that they like to eat, they like fish. Since they're predominantly Roman Catholic, they don't believe in eating meat on Friday, but they will eat fish. Bread is not served as an accompaniment to the meal. It's served more as a side. Things that you would get before the meal would be either a soup or potato. As far as clothing goes, they like subtle clothing, simple colors, simple patterns. They try to avoid loud, attractive, ostentatious clothing. Lastly, the political situation in Ireland is stable for the most part. If you look at years past in the early 2000s, late 90s, if you look at the chart, the point system was definitely higher back then. But now, if you look at 2018, it was at 1.03, I believe, compared to 195 other countries, which were at negative 0.5. Ireland is definitely very stable when it comes to politics. Obviously, they have their own issues to work out. Every country does. But for the most part, you would definitely say they are stable in their politics. If you look at it from a business standpoint, yes, the political situation definitely affects business, just like any other country would. One of the most attractive things for Ireland would definitely be their low taxation rates. Definitely something that would attract people in Ireland to want to do business in Ireland, and also those that are outside of Ireland to want to come and do business with Ireland.
So today I'm going to talk to you about religion and other things in Ireland. First of all, the vast majority of Irish people are Catholic, Roman Catholic in religion. That dates back to whenever St. Patrick came over in the 1800s and brought Roman Catholicism to Ireland, and since then they've all been predominantly Catholic. There are some other religions. They have Church of Ireland, which is their second biggest religion, but it's still only about 3% of the population. They have Muslim at like 0.8% of the population, and then a couple other smaller denominations. But by overwhelming majority, it's definitely Roman Catholicism. Other than that, they used to have a bunch of folklore that they believed in before Catholicism came in, but after that took over, they pretty much cut out all the folklore beliefs, pretty much banned all of those. So As for holidays, of course, got St. Patrick's Day, which is the most well-known holiday. Very, very celebrated over there. Um, other than that, they have about 9 major holidays that are publicly recognized. And although the government shuts down and everybody recognizes those holidays, like here in the U.S., most major department stores will stay open. Most major businesses will stay open, except for Christmas. They still close down for Christmas. So, as for sacred places, one of the biggest ones is St. Brigid's Cathedral, which is one of the earliest churches in Ireland, and it was founded by St. Brigid herself, so that's where it's got its name, and that's still standing today and one of Ireland's biggest sacred places. So for food and clothing, people over there, they still eat 3 times a day. They snack a lot, but so does every country, it seems like. They have several traditional meals. One of them is the full Irish breakfast, which is pretty popular over there. It's supposed to keep you full all day. As for clothing, mostly their clothing has been influenced by modern Western culture nowadays. Used to, they did not have very extravagant clothing. But most peasants just wore very plain clothing, nothing special, and even to this day, on special occasions, there's not really any special clothing. They still have the kilt, which is about their only special clothing, and even that originally came from Scotland, but it was influenced but Ireland was influenced by it, and they definitely adopted the kilt and have worn it. But that's about their only special occasion clothing that they have. As for colors, the color yellow, saffron yellow in particular, is associated with rebellion, and that dates back to the fights between Ireland and England back in the day, and that was their color that they used to symbolize the rebellion, and to this day it is still seen as color of rebellion. Political patterns, Ireland is a constitutional republic, and that means that they have 3 branches of government, just like here in the U.S. They have the judicial, the executive, and the legislative branch. Those 3 branches make up their government and keep everything in order. But yeah, that pretty much wraps everything up.
Hi, I'm Lawrence. I'm going to be talking about Ireland's economic and business entities, as well as their laws, values, and ethics. To begin with the economic and business entities, we're going to talk about primary resources and principal products. Now, they have several minerals in Ireland that they export, silver, lead, zinc, and gypsum, and those are the majority of their primary resources are just minerals that they ship off. They also raise livestock and grow crops. On the livestock side, they have a lot of lambs and pigs and cows, and beef is actually their #1 export. They also ship off milk, wool, eggs, your everyday raising animals, and they grow root crops like potatoes. They also grow barley and wheat, and those are just some of their more important exports. To move on, we're going to talk about business size, and this is just going to be mainly over their largest company, and I'll talk about some of the smaller ones as we keep going. Now, their largest company is actually called Johnson Controls, and they sell fire, HVAC, and security equipment to other businesses and people. They rank as the 272nd largest business in the world. They're a multinational firm, and they have several branches all over the world. They actually have a few close to NSU, some in Oklahoma City, some just across the state line to Arkansas. Now, they employ roughly 209,000 people, and just to give you an idea, that's roughly 1/10 the size of Walmart's workforce. They create just under $18 billion in revenue, and the trend does have them growing. The next largest business is ranked 302, and beyond that, it's mid-300s into 400s. Now, when I was looking at this, I didn't think Ireland's businesses would be this big as Johnson Controls, so it's bigger than I expected. However, they are still on the smaller side of large. A little bit about their economy and their society. They're a mixed economy, and they have mostly privately owned businesses, but they also have some public owned businesses. Their GDP is just over $385 billion. Now to touch on the society, they're roughly around the turn of the century became a heterogeneous society, and their working hours over there are pretty similar to ours at roughly 9 a.m. to 5:30 in the afternoon. They speak both English and Irish, of course, and just to touch on their idea of electronic business, when it comes to consumerism and your more grocery stores products, that kind of stuff, it's very accepted. It makes up nearly 50% of all consumed product purchases, and they view telecommunication and business kind of not. It's not preferred, but it's okay. They much prefer face-to-face business, and they do have some unspoken rules when it comes to that. They like meetings scheduled between May and September, so they don't get in the way of holidays. They think they should be arranged later in the day, not in the morning. They plan all these things in advance and expect you to be punctual. They always exchange business cards, which I thought was interesting. And the thing that I thought was the most interesting was every meeting you have to begin with small talk and even tell a few jokes to whoever you're meeting with. Just some interesting things about how they do business over there. So lastly, I'm going to touch on their ethics, values, and laws. And to begin with this, I'm going to talk about giving gifts, which in business is generally not accepted. They don't really like it, and it's really just frowned upon all over the country. Another aspect that I thought was interesting was they are a competitive country, but they try to keep that out of business. Now, that doesn't always work, but the majority of the time, it's not competitive in business. And one more thing that I really wanted to talk about was their view on honesty, which I thought was interesting and different from us, very obviously different. They think honesty is more important than being polite, so they're more likely to give you the truth than what you would want to hear, which I don't know. I think that's kind of interesting. And this has been my part of Ireland. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for listening.